I'm
Nice.
not like that, man. I'm the guy everyone makes fun of. We have an HR department because of me, so
Oh yeah, yeah. You're that guy. I got you. Well, let's get going. So we're recording. I'll get into it.
yeah.
All right, Alan. Appreciate you being on. It was, you and I have chatted just very briefly in the social media world, and I'm glad that we're now live face to face here and even
Yeah.
pre-roll, getting to know you a little bit better, and also the brand you started. I'm selfishly very eager and interested to jump into this conversation based on the space that you're in, which is home services, just like Junk Raider, our junk removal business. We are
Yeah.
really much so in the trenches there, and curious to get your side of things with everything that you guys do with home services. So with that said, again, not to ask you to regurgitate the
No,
background
you're fine. Yeah.
prior to the role, but if you could give the listeners kind of a background on Resi Brands and
Sure.
the brands underneath, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll give a little Cliff Note version for you. But
Yeah.
yeah, so basically in 2000, my cousin Steven founded That One Painter. We were roommates. Neither of us had any idea really about business back then. And he, was hiring buddies, and it was very much just a truck and some guys painting. He grew that. I was in home services doing other things. And then he started to get really serious about his business. And I had gotten a lot of home service experience in other industries by that point. So we teamed together about 5 years ago now and became the largest painting company in Austin, one of the highest rated in America. And then we started franchising a little over 2 years ago now. That One Painter is one of the fastest growing home service concepts there is. And it's certainly the fastest growing paint business in America right now. We have almost 200 units now. Last I looked, so we keep signing units almost every week. So I have hard to keep track. And then we started our second concept, a Garage Up. We just started franchising in the summer of this year. We're at 5 units for that. Garage Up's the first total garage renovation franchise. We do everything, not just epoxy floors, not just doors. We do all of it. So it's a really cool market and a really awesome space. And then we have Pink's Window Services, which is a recurring business model that is a local business, has been here in Austin for quite a while now, and they chose to partner under Resi. So Resi's kind of our parent company. Resi's short for residential.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is to have just a bunch of home service concepts. We love the home service space where we feel we can be the greatest asset to not only customers, but to franchisees.
Amazing. What's the ultimate goal of Resi? So, and just help me understand. So I get the parent company, you've got your sub brands, your sub companies, That One Painter, Pink's Window, Garage Up. Is Resi always looking for other existing home service businesses to go and acquire, help grow in the franchise model? Or are you trying to build something from the ground up under the Resi brand? What's that look like?
Yes, I hate the word acquisition only because it's that's all over franchising right now, right?
Yeah.
Like all these private equity and VC and all that. I'm not really interested in acquiring brands like home service. I don't know. It's just, to us, it's more about if there's a strategic partnership that makes sense, because we obviously know how to do this thing at scale, and there's a lot of lessons to learn there. You and I were kind of briefly talking about there's a pretty high fail rate amongst franchisors, and I know a lot of specific reasons why. There was definitely moments that were pretty scary even for us. And so anyways, I would say strategic partnerships more than anything, but we're also, yes, very into building. We actually have some things in the kitchen now and R&D and all that stuff. But yeah, our goal is 10 brands and 1,000 franchisees. So
where did those numbers come from? How did you arrive at those two numbers?
One of the things Steven and I always talk about is just to set ridiculous goals. I think we read Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone, got into the whole 10X thing, and just really challenged ourselves to believe bigger and dream more. And I feel like we've learned over this process of being business owners, to cast greater and greater and greater vision. And so why those numbers? Because they're round and they're easy to remember.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. I'm kind of the same way. Why not throw a number that seems like it's good? There's certain things in business that I've learned, Alan, that you spend time on, and others that you don't. And one is your growth trajectory. And I know that companies that want to come in and acquire us, or if you ever want to exit, you need to have your numbers in line. But for me, when folks talk to me and they're like, well, how many franchise territories do you want to have with Junk Raider in the next 5 years, 10 years? I'm like, I don't know, 5 years, let's say 100, maybe 500. I don't know what. I mean, it kind of a lot of version. But I'll throw a ridiculous. A lot of it is just what I think the market can bear, right? I don't think there's 500 territories that we could successfully move into with junk removal that would yield success for both the franchisee and the franchisor. So that's kind of how I would back into that number. But at the end of the day, there's some folks that are you're going to be struggling to get 5 franchisees on even in 1 year, much less 500 in 5 years. I'm like, yeah, maybe you may be right, but I'm speaking with Alan right now, and you've got two, under That One Painter. So anyways, nonetheless, I think moving on, I found out about that one painter by way of
Yeah.
an Instagram video. Somehow I
Yep.
landed on it. I forget how I did. And I think you guys were out maybe in Knoxville doing like a video of a home for somebody that you just paint. I can't remember if it was exterior or interior, maybe both.
Yeah.
And besides the players involved, you may have even been on that video, but besides that, it was just like the way the video was shot and kind of this, I'll call it the cinematography of this Instagram video, 1 or 2 minute video really caught my eye. And maybe it's because I'm of the younger generation, but I feel like it's gonna capture the audience regardless of whether they see it on Instagram, a traditional, why am I drawing a blank? A commercial, a TV commercial, anything. And it's going to be like, wow, that's really put together, because I've always said about the home services space, especially something that is like painting that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brands that suck currently at getting their name recognized out there. And so if you could touch on that, Allan, just about branding and what your vision is for your company and companies when it comes to how you're going to make a name for yourself, how you're going to acquire new business, how much emphasis basically you put on your marketing efforts and what that looks like.
Yeah, no, that's huge, man. I mean, franchising is brand, right? Like it's brand and systems. It's kind of both. And so you can have great systems, but if the brand sucks, like it's going to really hinder your franchisee's ability to really go out there and be the politician of junk removal or the politician of pain or whatever they got to do, right? And so for us, like brand's everything. In fact, our first ever corporate hire when we started to do franchising, Steven and I, was a content creator.
Yeah.
That was our first ever full-time hire. And that kind of shows you how we think. But we just knew that we had to have premier content, and we have a goal of 1,000 YouTube videos. And like, we do a whole series called Paint Talk. And we've done like dad jokes where we like, paint related dad jokes, and we review like bad paint jobs and like trying to be fun, trying to create an audience, not for virality. Like really, we've had a couple things go viral, but it's not really about that. It's more so about just a brand awareness, a platform, people getting to know you, feeling like they can identify with you. It also helps for the franchisor relationship. Our franchisees, when they come in, they feel like they know us because they've watched hundreds of videos of me and Steven talking and goofing off and just seeing our personalities a little bit, right, on camera. Where how many founders are actually on camera that many hours right now? Like very few, And so I think it adds a whole power and element that people don't understand, except for the younger generation gets it more for sure. It's probably one of the reasons that we do have a lot of younger franchisees. We have a lot of success with younger generation. Franchising is an old man's game. Like the average age of a franchisee, I believe, is like mid 50s of the data that I've seen. And so, it's typically something that people do in their twilight years. I'd love to flip the script on that. I'd love to see more 30 and young 40-year-olds get into it and not wait until they basically had a failed career or a failed four to go, hey, we might need to invest into something, right?
Sure. So what I've been curious lately, Allan, and I don't know if you're in Facebook groups or any other places where like folks post stuff and you see a bunch of comments, and maybe this is where I should not be spending my time, but I like to jump in these and be a fly on the wall every so often because I feel like I can glean some info. And I feel like franchising, for me, I'm a brand new franchisor and I've never been a franchisee. And honestly, I haven't spent a lot of my life in that space or even learning about it until the last 12 months. But even for me, I think subconsciously in years past, if somebody mentioned the word franchise to me or how it was associated with the company, I maybe had kind of a negative disposition towards it for whatever reason. If you ask me why, I probably couldn't tell you why. But do you think that's a true statement for a lot of folks? Because in these Facebook groups, I'm seeing, and this is not just like one post, this is like a lot, where for sale by owner groups where someone's, putting their business out, or you can also post be like, hey, I'm looking to acquire this business or buy an existing business. And oftentimes folks will also comment for that person, be like, oh God, watch out for the scammers. Here come the franchise pitches. And I'm sitting there thinking like, why do people have a negative disposition? Like a franchise, an existing franchise territory, like if you have that one painter franchisee who runs that business for 10 years and then wants to sell his territory or her territory, that is an established existing business with revenue, SDE, profits, margin, P&L, all the things that another business that ran for 10 years would also have. That just happens not to be part of a franchise system. And so I'm curious as to why folks look at franchises as like negatives. I don't know if you see that a lot in your
Yeah,
daily.
and I would say, my opinion is because it's beautiful and rare. Small business in America is on a decline, so anyone who's willing to open a small business is going to get a fair share of criticism. I don't care
Yeah.
who you are. If you told someone tomorrow, "Hey, I'm opening up a business. I'm going to be a painter," like even if it
Mm.
wasn't a franchise, you're going to get a lot of criticism. And
Yeah.
so the reality is that it's not the mold. The mold is go get a career that you pay a god awful amount of money for, right? That costs more than a franchise, by the way. You can probably open up 5 franchises for what it costs to get a college degree right now and
Mhm.
not learn a damn thing. Get
Yeah.
indoctrinated more than educated.
Mhm.
So go to a college degree, get indoctrinated, graduate, hopefully find a job, hopefully pay off that debt, or vote for people who will forgive your debt, whatever you need to do,
Yeah.
whatever, right? Point is that like it's not rare, and it's not the mold. It's not what we're being told to do. And so there's no formal education in school on how to operate a business, how to own a business, how to run a business. But business ownership, entrepreneurism is the American dream. Thank God for people who moved to this country, saw a plot of land, and decided to create a business.
Yeah.
Thank God for people who saw beaver hides and said, you know what? I don't love beaver, but I love business, right? And I'm going to make a whole damn business and enterprise out of it, right? Tea and entire industries, tobacco and innovation and design and the Industrial Revolution and everything that America stands for is built upon entrepreneurism and people kind of breaking the mold. If anything, the last 100 years of go get a career and go get a job at Amazon or whatever else, or Tesla or whatever else, that's what is changing the course of America. And so I love entrepreneurs and I love anyone who is willing to take a risk on small business and bet on themselves. And anyone who really looks into it and who's really serious, the data's in support of franchising for sure, man. But I also think that you're going to get a lot of hate because it breaks the mold right now.
Sure. I think you're spot on. Tactily, what is Resi with your brands doing differently from a marketing and branding perspective? You guys are doing a great job there, content creation, that sort of thing. But on the boots on the ground level, your operations, what are you guys doing differently than your competitors maybe are doing? Whether that's your garage business, painting, or business.
Yeah, so like that's where I think it gets complicated because everyone will say the same things. So every franchisor that exists will tell you, well, they give you great support. Will tell you, well, we do great marketing for you. We'll tell you like, things that they alleviate, like a call center or appointment, whatever they call it. They might call it different things. So every franchisor has those things. Your job, if you're evaluating which one you want to go with, is first off, don't underestimate the people. Like if this is a business relationship. And so that's something that's not talked about enough. Do you like those people? Because you'll have to talk to those people for, if it's a 5-year agreement, 10-year agreement, however, like you're going to need to like be, so you better like the culture and the people and the vibe. So that's definitely important because even if it's good business, but you don't like the people, you won't enjoy it. So that's important. And then secondly, like to what degree do they actually do the things they claim? And I think that one of the ways, if I was a franchisee or a potential franchisee, I would pull their FDDs and I would validate and not only just get confirmation calls from the locations that the franchisor sends to me, I would call the locations that are either new or they certainly are not mentioning that I can find either listed as a location or listed, and try to get a hold of an owner who's maybe on the lower end of the bell curve. And if on the lower end of the bell curve is actually happy with the franchisor, but is just not happy with their results so far, that is a testament to what that franchisor is really doing for people.
Makes sense. So awesome. That's awesome stuff. And I couldn't agree more with it. Obviously, like I said, I've never been a franchisee and I've first time braving the franchisor world, but it all makes logical sense that whoever you get in bed with, you're going to be in that bed with for a long time. And I don't want to be, because what I'm committed to, and I'm sure you're the same way, Allan, is my mindset is I'm not going to let you fail. Like if I go and we open a junk removal company, a junk removal franchisee in Austin, Texas, I'm not going to let you fail. We're not trying to introduce a brand new smartphone to the marketplace. We're not doing anything groundbreaking. I'm not trying to get to the moon. We provide junk removal services. And I know there's a model there to success when it comes to customer service and all that. And I'm just not going to let you fail. But with that said, that means that I need to be available to that franchisee and the many others that come after, whether that's a call, a text, a WhatsApp, whatever the case may be. And if I don't like somebody just from having to talk with, that's very difficult. So I'm glad you brought that up. On the customer side, though, that one pain your garage up, pinks. What are you guys doing differently in the marketplace within each of those brands that you could say, hey, this painting company over here doesn't do this? Is it you get estimates back in 24 hours? You always answer the phone. You're using the latest and greatest paint. That's available. What is it that you guys kind of hang your hats on there?
Yeah, I mean, so if you combine all of the paint franchise brands, and you put them all together, we represent less than 5% of the entire paint industry. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the paint industry as a whole is highly unorganized. It's full of a lot of bad actors, very unrefined business people who just happen to get into painting. And so there's a lot of inconsistency, pricing inconsistencies, service inconsistencies, technology inconsistencies. And so there's just a lot of issues in the paint industry as a whole. A lot of homeowners have very negative experiences, especially when you mention the word contractor. It's very rare that someone says, "Oh, I love my contractor," right? I
Yeah,
just don't think that has a good reputation in America. And so for us, like one thing we always remember, although yes, we try to have very innovative approaches and all of that, but the truth is, man, is always come down to in home services, if you just show up on time and you do what you said, you're already beating majority of your competition. And so it's really simple, but it really is that simple. Like there's really, and so we do have a few service offerings. Like we're experts in like masonry coatings, specifically a process called lime wash. We're the only franchise company that actively promotes and advertises that. It's for like brick and stone and all of that. There's nothing that we really offer that's like extremely unique. It's more so technology, system, a process that's reliable and homeowners can rely on time in and time out.
Yeah. And for the audience, Alan and I have not chatted at length at all in our lives. We just met like last week. But Alan, that's like the exact same approach we take to junk removal is like, again,
Yeah,
I'm not introducing anything brand new to the marketplace, but I know across any home service line of business, roofing, garage, door repair, junk removal, painting, handyman work, the marketplace is yearning for better service because when I needed some French doors installed here to this home I moved in earlier this year, it was god awful experience trying to find somebody to come in and do this. As you can attest to, 5 to 10 companies on Google maybe is where I would start. But even for like handyman services, I would prefer to go like a referral route because it's just tough to find handyman in Charlotte and Google. And painting is different. I think I could Google that and kind of vet out companies that way. But do you answer the phone? Do you present clear? And I don't need pricing on the phone. Like most home service companies, can kind of give you a model of how they price, but you need to get on site, especially painting, and give an estimate, give a quote.
Yep.
Like, can you successfully talk through your process on the phone? Do you have some sort of automation in place for, okay, I want you to come out tomorrow at 9. I want to know when you're coming. If you have any troubles, like I want to know that you're delayed. When you get here, are your guys in some sort of a uniform? Does not mean they need to show up in a suit and tie, but just some sort of branded, that one painter, t-shirt, polo, whatever. Are you respectful of my home, my family, my floors? Like all that stuff is so common across any home service line of business that I'm super surprised after 30, 40, 50, 100 years of these services being delivered that the majority of the marketplace still sucks at it. So that is too what we're trying at Junk Raider to get right and take what we've developed in Charlotte and just replicate it from city to city because it sounds very simple, and I know it's not going to be, but the model itself is very simple in that you just got to get these easy things right, and you're gonna develop advocates for your brand that speak highly of you just because of the little things that you're doing right. So I'm glad you mentioned that. On the pipeline side, the franchisee pipeline side, talk about some of the challenges there, or if you're not having any challenges, what are the positives with building that franchisee pipeline? Like, how are you guys doing that? What's the process when, I'm sure you're getting probably daily leads for folks trying to buy into your brands at this stage, but like, how do you work through those leads? Talk to us just a little bit about the franchisee pipeline, how it's generated and how you.
I'm sorry about the background noise. They're actually cleaning our windows right now. So
I've got 2 little kids screaming in this house somewhere, so we're all good.
It's our pinks. They're actually here cleaning the office windows today. So they're actually doing my window right now.
Nice.
Anyways, yeah, man. So yeah, franchise pipeline. I mean, that's a big one, right? Like it's a multifaceted approach. I would tell you early on, it was when we started franchising, we were like, hey, man, everyone in our phone is a potential candidate. So Steven and I just started reaching out to everybody we knew. We sold a lot of our first deals to just friends, family, referrals, things like that. Just hustled it, man. We went to a lot of the franchise shows and you just meet candidates across America, put up a booth, and we were literally just the politicians of paint telling people how great of a business it was and getting some of these early adapters in. And we thank God for them. Our first franchisees were awesome. I think number one and number two, Daniel Kim and Chad. Daniel sold over 900 in his first year of revenue, and Chad did a million first year in paint business. We had the blessing that we brought in some really good guys early, because I think that a lot of franchisors, if you don't get a couple early on that are really just good, true entrepreneurs who are going to run out there and run hard, they can kind of stagnate the growth. And so anyways, that was a godsend, and multifaceted. And so, early on when you're a franchisor, it's pretty hard to get the brokers and all that stuff to really pay much attention to you. There's so many other brands right now, and there's a lot of franchise concepts that even if you join, it's not the easiest to pick up traction. We're blessed that now we're at a size where we probably like at our 50-50 split between deals that are coming through us through consultants and deals that are coming just like self-gen. So we do like a Facebook strategy, Google, stuff like that as well.
Awesome. When you lay your head down at night, this is so cliche, but I know all of us have it. What's the one headache that you seem to come back to within any of your businesses that you're thinking about every day now? Just a single challenge or anything that's like, man, we got to get this better within our companies. Anything that comes to mind?
I would say the biggest challenge, and I know that everyone says this, but it's just true, man. It's really hard to find truly good leadership. As I want to scale, as I want to grow, and as we add more and more, things under Resi, the biggest piece is the people. I would say that's the team building aspect is what I think Steven and I constantly are evaluating our internal org chart and seeing who's at what play. Because, look, we're new to this too. Over 2 years ago when we started, like I told you before, our first hire was a content guy. And so our original, team here at Resi was me, Steven, and their first hire was a content guy. And now we're over 50 people in corporate, and we're actively hiring like 15, 20 more roles. And so the organization is growing very rapidly. And I think the piece that keeps me up and just makes me think, honestly about how we're organizing this thing is the internal org chart and who's leading what groups and what teams, and are they the best fit? Are they fully trained? Do they have everything that they need to go out there and win each day? And so that's the piece that I think about the most currently, probably because we've been in this hyper growth, mode now for almost like 2 years. So
yeah, that makes sense. I think people, for some reason, it always comes back to people and hiring. I think we have a unique challenge in that, given our age here and what we're doing in the home services space, we're met with a unique challenge in that, I can't remember if we were talking about a pre-roll or if it was part of this episode, but just small business acquisition in general. In that message, there's so many things pulling at young people today, whether you're coming out of high school, coming out of college, whatever, in the digital space that, it's like a shiny object. We all want to go get it. TikTok has promoted a lot of stuff. Instagram, you can make money from your computer. And so there's, young are looking at careers, if you want to call them that, ways to make money online, which absolutely, like if you have a skill there, go pursue that, knock it out of the park. But on a grander scale, the small business, especially in America, is incredibly important to continue to feed and help thrive, because that's what the company is built, or that's what the country is built on. And so I think about your workforce and your work chart and getting folks in the right positions. I would think that we want folks, we want to promote from within, of course, but we want to bring on fresh eyes, folks that are eager to get in the home services space, that have some experience in this space specifically. But it's tough because you may be left with folks that are a little bit older, which isn't nothing wrong with it. But if you want to try to get fresh folks in that you can grow 5, 10, 15-year careers with at Resi, they've got a lot of these things pulling at them that's like, why would I go the home services route? Why would I go into small business? That seems boring, and it's like, I don't know how you can speak to that. I don't know if you've thought about that at all, or how you present Resi, differently to those folks, or what you got. Maybe it's all comes down to marketing, but maybe can you touch on that at all?
Again, it's content matters. And this is all the stuff that people don't realize. People always talk about when I go to like these franchisor events that are like other franchise concepts, and they talk a lot. There's a lot of talk about hiring and staffing and all that. Thank God for our mid-level and low-level positions. Like, and I don't like to even say that mid-level, low level, all positions are important, right?
Yeah.
And you need great people at every organization. The better our weakest links, the better we are as an organization. And so I don't really want to make it seem like, but there are positions that are just more skill specific than others, right? And need more leadership than others. And that's true. Those roles are hard to fill only because they're sensitive roles, and you have to be very, very mindful of it, right? Because they're helping navigate the thing.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say filling roles here at Resi has been actually pretty easy. It's more so, are we putting the right leadership in the right positions for success? And so, but yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, and this is what I was telling you before, Davis, is that there's a lot of people, like a lot of franchisors have a high fail rate. And there are things like, if you were trying to base your corporate location in like middle of nowhere, Iowa, not that I have anything against Iowa, but I'm just saying, like, if you're in the middle of nowhere or you're just, because a lot of our people have relocated to Austin to be here. And like, we have had a lot of success partly because Austin is just it's a great place to be, and it helps pull in talent, right? And then that in combination with being so widely accessible as the founders and the owners of this thing, I think makes people feel like they're a part of something. People, if you were to go get hired to work for a company like, I don't know, not to be rude, but like Authority Brands or like Neighborly or something like that, they're great companies, have a lot of great brands, but you're never gonna meet a founder. You're never gonna like watch 100 videos of like a founder. Like, there's videos of me on YouTube doing stuff that mostly you wouldn't think that someone, but it's because we're real people. Like, I don't really care. I don't have an ego. Like, I want to be real, and I want to be accessible and approachable, and I don't want to be like some board member pie in the sky, like way up in the clouds out of reach of everybody, right? And so I think it's a combination of a lot of things, man. And then we hire a lot of millennials, a lot of Gen Zers. There's a lot of talk and riffraff. Look, we live in America. It's the greatest and freest country in the history of the world. If you treat people right and you present them an opportunity that has a growth trajectory, they're going to come work for you.
Well, I love what you said. I love what you said about accessibility, and not to make a plug here, but I can attest to your accessibility to me, and I'm not even part of your brand. I pinged you on LinkedIn, and it was very quick. You replied in a timely manner, and we're totally open to jumping on this podcast. And which is, it speaks volumes. And I know, as you grow and continue to add brand, I mean, maybe your bandwidth becomes a little bit less limited, and random people like myself, you won't get as much attention from you as we do.
Anyone in the franchise space to me is a priority. I couldn't be here today, and we wouldn't be growing like we are if there wasn't people who invested into us. And so it would be very, very selfish of me to not want to help then say, hey, here's the things we've learned. And by the way, we still have a lot we're learning. Like, I still get mentored by guys and even new concepts that come in. Like, we were just at Springboard a few weeks ago. I got to speak on one of the Steven spoke on one of the panels. I did one of the roundtables, and just always trying to give back now, because when we showed up, and we heard the panels and we were on the roundtables, like, we learned a lot. And I was like, man, this is great. And so any platforms that are out there like that. I know there was another one, I can't remember the organization. There was another emerging franchisor conference just like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But we want to keep being a part and giving back. And, at the end of the day, I'll tell you this much. Not that I'm against private equity, but I would love to see more people like yourself, Davis, and your business partner get into this venture and not run out of cash and have to sell to private equity, which is a story that I've seen happen now many times. And I know why. Being a franchisor is tough, and it's an expensive game to play. Very expensive. Totally. And I don't think there's an open conversation about that.
And so that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's end it with this, Allan. We like to ask kind of the last of the episodes with, if you could go back to young Allan, whenever that was, coming out of school, first starting with your cousin Steven, that one painter, what would you, if there's one thing you could change, what would you have done differently back in those days?
I mean, I don't think I would change anything, honestly, and I know that's dumb, but I mean, I appreciate everything, including the mistakes, including failed business ventures that I had when I was younger. I appreciate everything because it has taught me and molded me and got me to where I am. I will say this: if I knew then what I know now, I would have started a franchise brand to build wealth instead of even purchasing a home. I am fully aware now that the greatest way to create wealth is to start a business. And I've seen that in my own life now. And I've seen it specifically in franchising. And so I have 3 boys, and I'm going to tell them, you're either going to go to college or we're going to start a franchise. That's what it is. So like, you better be ready. Right? And if you go to college, like, you know, it better be for something meaningful. Don't
Sure.
go get, even people who go to college to get a business degree. I've now hired people from prestigious, good universities here in
Mm.
Texas. I won't name the schools, but come in here and they know nothing about business.
Yeah.
Right? They have all this theoretical knowledge, but they have no real life knowledge and they have zero leadership to back it up. They can't even have sensitive conversations. Like, what is one of the basics of being a business owner? Hiring and firing. You know what you
Mm.
don't get to do when you go to college? Hire and fire people. And
Yeah.
there's character elements and psychological elements to being a business owner. And
Yeah.
so I really feel that I want to elevate that. And if 20-year-old me or whatever knew the things I know now, I would have started franchise businesses sooner to build wealth. And yeah, that would probably be what I would do different.
What's so great about that sentiment, Alan, is that even if you start a business and get into it, and Ted, my business partner, and I talk a lot about self-inventory and knowing who you are really, and you figure out, hey, I'm not built to be a business owner, and you get back into maybe being an employee. What's great is that you went through that process and you can understand the other side of the fence and what business owners go through on a daily basis. I feel like there's a lot of, talk about an org chart, right? Everybody in the org, if you don't have equity and or you're not at all part of kind of that called the C-suite or the ownership group, you don't understand why a lot of decisions are made and how they're made, and it gets people turned up a lot. I mean, I've been a W-2 employee in my life, and I have these conversations with other employees, and I'm like, look, we're not driving this ship. Somebody else is driving it. They started this. They set this boat sail, and we just jumped on at some point because there was an opportunity which they created, and so that perspective is lost a lot with employees. And I think if you can get into a sense of business ownership at some point in your career, it'll translate better for you emotionally, mentally, and what you ultimately give to that organization in a really positive way. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But
I do agree that and one thing, just to be clear, like, although I'm all about it and I love it, one of the things we tell people, even in our process of like vetting candidates, is like, not everybody should be a business owner.
yeah,
Like, I don't think for everyone, right? And so that's why I tell my boys, like, if you want to go get a career and do that, that's fine, but make sure it's meaningful and it's something that actually is going to be impactful to your
yeah,
life and give you a sense of purpose, right? Don't get a career just willy-nilly because you're just interested in it, pseudo
yeah,
interested. It's like, I don't know, like, have a trajectory, have a purpose, right? But so I'm not anti people doing that. God bless people who go and spend 10 years learning to be experts at like how to operate on my kidney or whatever, like, things like that. Like, thank God there's people like that. So I
yeah.
definitely don't think that everyone should be an entrepreneur. Everyone should be a business owner. But I do thank God for the people who do, because the population in America is growing, but the small business ownership is not. It's actually declining. And so I get worried that eventually we're going to all be working for like the Amazon overlords or whatever else, right? And that will not be good for the US. And so I love small business people. I love that there are risk takers out there. I love that there are people who value freedom, because that's the pursuit. The exchange of starting a business is my labor in exchange for financial freedom, time freedom, schedule freedom, right? And so that's the great exchange. And I love it. And I love people who think that way. And it's not for everyone, but for anyone out there who's like feeling constrained and needs freedom in their life, franchise is hard, but it is amazing. And it's a great way to get there. So.
Well, Alan, this has been phenomenal, selfishly for me, but hopefully for the audience as well. And I know you and I will stay connected, but look forward to continuing to see you guys grow
You
and
too,
be a
man.
really positive brand out there. Where can anybody find you, and what's the best way to get in touch with you if they want to reach out about any one of your companies, Resi Brands overall?
Yeah, so my personal ask is, as CGO, I am looking for strategic partnerships, right people, right brands who want to help scale home service concepts nationwide. So I'm CGO, Chief Growth Officer, looking for new opportunities. Also, vendor partnerships are always something I'm interested in. So anyone who wants to talk about that can reach me directly, Allan, Allan, at Resi Brands. As far about learning about our brands, you can find us on a lot of places, but That One Painter, Garage Up, and Pinks. Instagram's a great place to start. We love Instagram, YouTube, and then obviously the website. So
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Alan, thank you again. This has been phenomenal. And I'm sure, again, we'll be in touch. But good luck to Resi Brands and to you as you guys continue to grow.
yeah, bud, you too. I love the junk removal space. I love Brian Scudamore and the One Inch Story. And you guys, yeah, dude, that's a space I love. And so good for y'all, man. And definitely got an eye out for you guys. And likewise, we'll definitely stay in touch.
Got a long ways to go. All right.
All right, buddy, be good.